because we're seeing all of these volcanoes now erupting, and of course when a large volcano erupts, it sends out billions of cubic meters of ash and rock into the atmosphere that eventually fall to the ground.
Yeah.
And of course, earthquakes cause land to shift up and overturn. So yes, the Earth is going through a process of trying to clear itself out. However, the Illuminati or the New World Order, whatever you want to call it, is aware of this as well. And so they are artificially trying to change that. And so there's this clash going on between the artificial weather changes and what the Earth is trying to do naturally. And so we're seeing conflicts and disasters in many locations where these energies are clashing. And so this is also a problem.
It sounds to me like we're in a lot of trouble here, you know.
Well, yes, we are in a lot of trouble, and as for those who read my website, you know I say constantly, there is no global warming. In fact, the opposite is true. The Earth is getting colder, and in fact, less sunlight is reaching the Earth than ever before, because naturally, the Earth is slowly moving further out away in its orbit from the sun, and so there's less light reaching the Earth. And also, the volcanoes and other incidences that have occurred have caused more of a haze to be put around the Earth so that there's less light getting through. So it's getting colder. That's why we had snow in Buenos Aires and Cape Town and Phoenix and Malibu, California, all had snow. You know, that's not global warming. Antarctica recorded the coldest temperatures ever and the deepest snow and ice ever. So, you know, the government goes to these little places where there are undersea volcanoes, where they're erupting and causing the ice in those areas to melt, and they're saying, look, it's the caps are melting, it's global warming.
Right.
But it was a volcano erupting beneath the ice. That's what caused it to melt.
Of course, and there's, well, to begin with, we don't know all of these places, of course, but as you say, there are so many of these things happening, and these might be going in cycles too, and I've heard that there is a lot of volcanoes going off right now around the planet, and this has been kind of ongoing, I guess, for a few years now, but definitely, as you say, under ice volcanoes is a big issue like this. And also, of course, the whole global warming issue can be kind of skewed in this manner because, you know, very much CO2 obviously are released when a volcano blows. I can't remember the exact figures now, but someone were actually comparing the amount of CO2 that we put out through cars, industry, etc., and compared to a volcano. And this was like, you know, what we put out is like a fraction, is minute of what a volcano puts out, you know?
Exactly. Humankind, although it has many issues, is not responsible for the changes in the atmospheric conditions. You're correct that the pollution, the factories, the emissions from vehicles is a minute compared to what the natural changes are that are occurring. And you know, a couple of weeks ago I flew over Greenland, and Greenland is covered in snow and ice. You know, I looked, and here it is. It was the end of June, and it looked like winter time. And yet, just before I left, they said, "Oh, Greenland is melting. It's everything is exposed." It's not true, because they think, you know, how many people are going to go to Greenland and look?
Right. Exactly.
Not many.
Exactly.
But it's basically a lie. And the most comical thing that I read, which was about the middle of June, and it said that the ice in the northern seas is starting to melt. Well, it's summertime. Of course it's going to melt.
Yeah.
It always melts. And people look at that and they go, oh, my goodness, you know. And so then the price of gasoline goes up dramatically and everything goes up. And nobody says, you know, why? It's absolutely no reason at all for the price of fuel to be where it is now. Absolutely none.
Exactly. No, I agree. It's all skewed, and even the the CEOs of Shell, Royal Dutch Shell, what have you, goes out and talks about the fact that this is all speculation. We made the record profits. It's
Yeah,
it's incredible.
he should be asked, why he has $50 million bonus.
Right. Well, exactly. No, it's ludicrous, and you're right. I mean, there's all these kind of issues, but in the end, especially in the latter, at least, kind of issues we touched upon here, I think that this is good in one way for if you will, the kind of the awakening of humanity, because unfortunately a lot of people need to kind of be pushed into the corner, if you will, in order to actually wake up, and I see that this is a catalyst for that. That's how I feel.
Well, I am hoping that you are correct, because I see a lot of people, especially in Europe and North America, where they just go blindly, whatever they're told in the newspaper and then CNN, and they say that they just think, well, that's the way it is, and we have to suffer. And they just don't consider making a change for the better. They make a change for the worse. And
Right.
this is disturbing to me. However, I agree that at some point, human beings will be pushed to such a degree, they will say, hey, they'll push back.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm waiting for.
Me too. Okay, let's see here. Let's backtrack a little bit and get back on the track, as it were, here, and talk a little bit more about colors and archetypes. As I understand it, colors can be used as triggers in some circumstances, but it also can be related to actually treat mind control. It can be a healing thing, isn't that right, Stewart?
Yes, and let me preface it all by stating that I do teach the language of hyperspace, which is what I describe the way God mind thinks and creates. It's a triad of color, tone, and archetype symbol. And it's a triad that creates all that exists in every dimension, in every universe. And so it's a natural undercurrent of creation. And as all things, can be used for positive or negative, and so the powers that be can take sequences of colors and symbols and use them in a way that's not so good for people. But if human beings understand the language of hyperspace and how the proper meanings of the colors and symbols, they can then create their own reality in the way they desire, which is the way it should be anyway.
So that means that all of the horrible things that we began to talk about are things that necessarily don't have to be a part of your life. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct. That is absolutely correct. When you see a terrible accident occur and then so many people perish, but one person survives without a scratch, why did that person survive? Because they didn't have the mind pattern for disaster. So it doesn't matter where you are, and it doesn't matter what you do or what nationality you are. If you learn how to use your own mind and create the good things in life, you will experience that no matter what else is going on.
So that means that the nature of reality is a tad bit different than we are being told, then, I guess, right?
Well, what scientists say about reality is, of course, skewered to a control system. They don't want people to know they can use their minds to create their own reality. That's very scary to the controllers, because that takes away the programming.
Right.
So yes, every human beings, unfortunately, and I'm sure I must have mentioned on the show last time, use only 10% or less of their total capacity of their mind,
so they
and
say, yeah.
3% or less of their DNA capacity. So can you imagine how inefficient and blocked that is?
Yeah.
And how amazing it would be to open even a percentage more of what you're using.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. Not about the DNA there, but I guess you're referring to what they term as junk DNA, right? That is a whole portion of the human DNA that actually is unused, and that's totally bollocks in my book, at least,
Yes, and that's how they control people, by using words like junk. So if someone, about genetics and they're told 97% is junk,
Yeah.
and that's what they learn in school officially, then this child grows up and believes that the 90% of themselves is junk.
Right. Right.
You see?
Exactly.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
And
No.
when really, if I may just say this,
Mm.
if you study genetics, you learn that an amoeba, an elephant, a human being, an alien, whatever it is, 97% of that DNA is identical. That's amazing. So only 3% differentiate species and individuals within a species. So to me, my opinion is that since 97% of DNA is identical universally, that is a proof to me of a God mind or an originator of all things.
Yeah. A designer.
Yeah.
And so in a way we can perhaps go into the direction that DNA is possibly a I don't know if we should say code or an encoder, something that actually interprets the originator's original idea, as it were, and the DNA is something that kind of encapsulates or draws to it the spirit. Would you say that that's a correct assessment?
Yes, and I teach this in my DNA seminar, and I show a very simple flowchart. If you go and understand that all that exists is mind, energy, and thought, that's all that exists, and this is electromagnetic. As this enters into a physical reality, the electromagnetic energy attracts atomic structure. And the atomic structure forms around the patterns of that mind or thought to create protein bases, and the protein bases then become the foundation of your DNA, which is the blueprint of your body.
Right.
So literally, what you think is what you become physically, and then your mind pattern projects out into the screen of physical reality to reflect back everything that you think. So you are living in a holographic universe.
Yes.
And you can create everything that you wish.
Mm.
Unfortunately, humanity as a species has a victimization mind pattern. And so they create oppressors and tyrants. So this is what must be eliminated, is the mind pattern of victimization.
And I mean, would you say that this is happening then on the mass level, that this is something that the mass are contributing to? Because again, this is kind of, if you think about it in a way, for me, it becomes a little bit schizophrenic, because we're told that on one level this is an individual reality, if you will. We can live wherever we want to be, but then on the other side of this, it feels like we all are contributing to this objective picture that is shaping reality into the horrible scenario that we have in front of us right now. So I mean, how does these two different ideas or pictures collaborate with each other, or do they in any way?
Well, yes, it's really the same thing, because we create our own little world, and that is a part of the macrocosm. So everything we experience, both personally and globally, we have contributed. We have created this, and we must take responsibility. That is the most difficult thing for people, is to accept responsibility and say, yes, part of me is projecting these events in Central Asia. Part of me is projecting the programming and the mind control, because I have victimization mentality. When we accept that we, both individually and collectively as a species, are responsible for everything that we experience, personally and globally, then we can start to change it.
Yeah.
But if we constantly act as a victim, that this is external to us and we have no control over it, then we are lost.
Right. So it also means that we shouldn't hide away from horrible and terrible things, but we need to change our approach to